So this is Miss Jem Sombiliano, your PNL lecturer for tonight. So to all future registered nurses, no? So good evening sa inyong lahat po. Welcome sa ating Live PNLE class. So start na po tayo. So Ma'am Jem is basically teaching medical and surgical nursing for about 5 years. So MS talaga yung forte ni Ma'am Jem. So now, yung typical na discussion natin ng MS is basically the definition of the disorder, the causes, the risk factors, the diagnostic procedures, the sign and symptoms, okay, your pathophysiology, the management. Okay, now I am not going to discuss yung typical na discussion natin sa MS. What I'm trying to say is that i-discuss din dyan kung paano natin mas madaling maiintindihan yung concept specifically in fluids and electrolyte. Okay, to be specific in fluids. Okay, so basic concept muna tayo. So this will be our topic for tonight. Understanding common fluid-related disorders. Okay po, so let's start. So ang pinaka-basic concept natin para maunawaan natin ang fluid is kailangan maintindihan natin yung iba't ibang compartment. When I say compartment, meaning to say, ito yung space, ito yung area kung saan natin matatagpuan yung fluids, right? So nasaan ba yung fluid natin sa katawan? So it can be divided into two compartments. It can be intracellular, or ICF. So meaning to say, meaning to say inside. Okay, these are the fluid that can be found inside the cell. These are the fluid that can be found inside the cell. Meaning to say, sa loob ng cell natin makikita yung mga fluids na ito or matatagpuan. Now, approximately 70%, okay, some of the books will tell, it's 60 to 70%. So it's a 70% or 2/3, okay, of our body fluids can be found inside the cell. Ma'am Jen, gaano po kadami yung tubig sa loob ng cell? So kung iyan po ay ating i-convert into liters, okay, the fluid that can be found inside the cell is approximately 28 to 30 liters. 28 to 30 liters ang fluid sa loob ng ating cell. On the other hand, meron din po tayong tinatawag na extracellular. Extracellular meaning to say extra, meaning to say outside the cell. These are the fluid that can be found outside the cell. Ito yung mga tubig na makikita natin outside the cell. And approximately 30% of fluids ay makikita natin or matatagpuan natin outside the cell. Okay? Or 1/3. 1/3, Ma'am Jem. Gaano po kadami, Miss Jem? Gaano po kadami? Approximately 14 to 60 liters. 14 to 60 liters, okay, yung fluid na makikita natin outside the cell. Okay, now nurses, listen to Ma'am Jem. Every time na i-discuss natin yung extracellular fluid, hindi nyo pwedeng makalimutan tong tatlong bahagi ng extracellular fluid compartment. This can be divided into 3. Okay, your extracellular fluid compartment, okay, can be divided into 3. Number 1 is your intravascular. Once again, nurses, once again. Kapag nakita mo yung intravascular, it doesn't mean it's intracellular yan. Marami kasi mga students na akala nila intravascular is intracellular. Your intravascular is under your extracellular fluid compartment. So from the word itself, intravascular, intra meaning to say inside, a vascular meaning to say blood vessel. These are the fluid that can be found inside the blood vessels. Nasa loob yung ugat na iyan. Ano po iyan, Ma'am Jem? Yan po yung tubig natin sa dugo. Ito po yung tinatawag nating plasma. Okay, these are the fluids that can be found inside the blood vessel is your intravascular. Ito po yung plasma na tinatawag natin. Another would be under your extracellular would be your interstitial. Your interstitial, okay, intravascular, this is the acronym IVC, interstitial, your ISC, right, interstitial compartment. So the interstitial compartment, ang makikita natin, these are the fluids that can be found in between the cell. Okay, these are the fluids that can be found in between the cell. Sa Tagalog po, nasa gitna po ng dalawang cell yung tubig, okay, na nasa interstitial, nasa gitna ng dalawang cell. Let's say, for example, this is the cell, okay? This is the other cell, okay? In between the cell, this is your interstitial, right? Okay, and the last, okay? That would be your transcellular, okay? Your transcellular fluid compartment. So these are the fluids that can be found, nurses, saan po? Sa mga cavities. Okay, these are the fluid that can be found saan, Miss Jem? Sa mga cavities, sa mga spaces. Okay, very minimal lang ang amount ng fluid na makikita natin sa mga bahaging ito. Ano po ito, Miss Jem? Okay, let's see for example. Pag sinabi nating cavities, ito yung mga spaces. Right, okay. Ito yung mga daanan, no? Okay, let's say for example, in your brain, we have your intraventricular system of your brain. Okay, spaces yun, di ba? Ano ang makikita natin? Ano ang dumadaloy sa intraventricular system of the brain? We have your cerebrospinal fluid, your transcellular, okay, fluid. Example niya, nurses, that will be your CSF. Okay? Specifically in the intraventricular system of your brain. Another, Miss Jem, would be the fluid in the pleural space, right? Your pleural fluid. Okay, your pleural fluid. Another, Miss Jem, would be your fluid in your what? In the pericardial space. Okay, in between the visceral and the parietal pericardium. Okay, that would be your pericardial space, your pericardial fluid. Okay, your pericardial fluid. Okay, so we have minimal amount of fluid sa mga cavities na ito or sa mga spaces na to. We have your pericardial fluid. So, iyan yung mga compartment natin, nurses. Once again, your fluid compartment, meaning to say, nasaan po yung fluid? Saan po natin makikita? It can be divided into two, your compartment inside the cell, which is the intracellular. We have your 70%, approximately 28 to 30 liters. Extracellular, the fluid, okay, that can be found outside the cell, approximately 30% or 14 to 16 liters. And it is divided into three. Your intravascular, inside the blood vessels. These are your plasma fluid, yung fluid natin sa dugo. Interstitial, these are the fluids between the cell. And your transcellular, these are the fluid that can be found inside the cavities, inside the spaces. Ano-ano po ito, Ma'am Jem? Your cerebrospinal fluid, your pleural fluid, pericardial fluid, dagdagan nyo pa your pancreatic enzymes. You may also include in transcellular the pancreatic enzyme or juices. Okay? The pancreatic enzyme or the pancreatic juices. Ma'am, bakit po importante na maintindihan natin yung fluid compartment? Kasi nagkakaroon tayo ng fluid shifting kapag inaaral natin yung iba't ibang klase ng fluid-related disorders. Right? Kailangan mong maintindihan yung mga compartment na ito dahil dyan lang naman nagkakaroon ng paglipat ng fluid. Okay? Dyan lang nagkakaroon ng paglipat ng fluid. At ang paglipat ng fluid, nurses, maiintindihan natin yan kapag naunawaan nyo ang mga terminologies na ito. So we need to understand this terminologies para maunawaan mo bakit tayo nagkakaroon ng fluid shifting. Kasi every time na na-encounter ng mga students to, hindi naman lahat, but majority of my students, kapag na-encounter nila yung mga terminologies na to, na-stress sila agad. Now, okay, isang salita lang ang ibig sabihin niyan. But let me define it individually. So we have the word osmolality, tonicity, specific gravity, and hematocrit. At ano ba ang common denominator ng mga salita na yan? So let's have first your osmolality. Now your osmolality is defined as the number of solutes, or it's the number of osmoles. It's the number of osmoles. It's the number of osmoles, okay? Osmoles of solvent. Solvent. When I say solvent, it's the fluid, it's the water. It's the water. The number of osmoles of solvent or water per what? Per kilogram. Meaning to say, nurses, if you are going to describe or to define what is osmoles, okay, to make it easy, no, okay, in layman's term, ang ibig sabihin lang nito, nurses, it's the solute, no? It's the solutes. It's the particles. It's the solute particles. Okay, iyan ang laman ng tubig. Iyan yung laman ng solution. Iyan yung laman ng dugo. Iyan ang laman ng fluid. Iyan ang ibig sabihin ng solute. It's the particles, right? Okay, per kilogram. So meaning to say, your osmolality is the osmoles per kilogram. Gaano kadami yung particles per kilogram? Yan lang ang ibig sabihin yan. Now, your osmolarity naman is the number. It's the number of osmoles, okay, osmoles of solvent or water. Water per liter. So kung titingnan mo silang dalawa, nurses, ang binibilang lang natin dyan, ang wini-weigh lang natin dyan, it's really the solute. It's really the particles. Gaano kadami yung laman ng particles sa isang solusyon, sa isang fluid, magkaiba lang sila ng ginamit na unit. Right? Pero kung titingnan mo, it's really a matter of solutes. Gaano kadami yung solutes? Okay, punta tayo kay number 3. Number 3, it's the number of osmoles. It's the number of osmoles or solutes, okay, or solutes, okay, in a what? In a solution. In a solution, relative. Relative to what, nurses? Relative to another solution. Okay, nurses, have you encountered sa mga IV fluids yung salitang hypertonic? Diyan nang galing yon. Hypotonic, hypertonic. When I say hypertonic, meaning to say it's hypertonicity. Pag sinabi kong hyper, mataas. Tonicity meaning to say solute. Madami ang solute. Right? Hypertonicity, madami ang solute sa isang solusyon. When I say hypotonicity, mababa, makonti yung number of solute sa isang solusyon. Just likewise, the same kung paano mo iintindihan ang osmolality. When I say hyperosmolality, meaning to say, ang dami ng solute sa isang solvent per kilogram. When I say hyperosmolarity, meaning to say, ang dami ng solvent sa isang litro ng fluid. So basically, ang binibilang mo dito, it's really the solute, the particles na meron sa isang solution, sa isang fluid, sa isang dugo, or sa isang compartment. Right? So it's very, very easy. Another, nurses, is your specific gravity. Your specific gravity is basically a unit na ginagamit natin to evaluate, to determine, or to measure. To evaluate, to determine, or even to measure the concentration. Evaluate the concentration of the urine output of our patient, right? What's the normal specific gravity? It's 1.0 to 1.030, right? And your hematocrit, okay, it's basically a percentage of RBC in the whole blood. It's the percentage of RBC in whole blood. It's a mass, or it's the mass. It's evaluate the RBC mass. It's evaluate the RBC mass. So, gaano kadami yung RBC, no? So, it basically measures kung gaano ka-concentrated or kung gaano ka-dilute ang ating blood. So, if the hematocrit is increased, so there will be what? There will be hemoconcentration. From the word itself, hemoconcentration. Hemo means blood. Malapot ang dugo. So, kailan ba tumataas ang hematocrit? Kapag ang isang pasyente ay dehydrated, right? Okay, in a normal process ng ating katawan, tumataas ang hematocrit kapag ang pasyente ay merong hypovolemia at bumabagsak ang hematocrit, nagiging dilute ang dugo natin kapag ang pasyente ay merong hypervolemia or if there will be an excess fluid volume inside the body. Right? So once again, nurses, osmolality, it's really the number of solutes per kilogram. The number of solutes, okay, of solvents Okay, water or fluid per kilogram. Osmolarity, it's the number of solutes of solvent per liter naman. Tonicity, it's the number of solute in a solution. Specific gravity, it's really the concentration of the urine. And hematocrit, it's the percentage of RBC. So basically it evaluates the mass. Okay? It evaluates the RBC mass. Okay, pag mataas ang hematocrit, tumataas yan kapag tayo ay dehydrated or kapag ang pasyente is hypovolemic. So hemoconcentration, bumabagsak yan kapag ang pasyente ay merong hypervolemia or merong fluid volume excess. Now, nurses, pag sama-samahin mong lahat yung mga terminologies na yan, isa lang ang common denominator na yan. Lahat na yan, nurses, isa lang ang tinutukoy ng mga salita na yan. It talks about the concentration. Yun lang po ang ibig sabihin yan. Lahat ng mga terminologies na yan, ang ibig sabihin lang yan, it refers to one word. It talks about concentration. So when I say hyperosmolality, when I say hyperosmolarity, when I say hypertonicity, meaning to say the solution, the fluid, regardless kung anong unit ito, concentrated siya. When I say hypoosmolality, hypotonicity, regardless kung anong unit ang ginamit, kung kilogram, kung per liter ito, isa lang ang tinutukoy dito. Mababa ang silute kung hypoosmolarity, diluted ang blood. So it talks, diluted ang blood, diluted ang solution, diluted ang compartment. It talks about the concentration. Same, when I say specific gravity, it talks about the concentration of the urine. If the specific gravity is increased, the urine is concentrated. The urine is concentrated. So there will be urine concentration, okay? And if the specific gravity is less than 1.010, the urine output or the urine is diluted. And when I say hematocrit, if it's increased, the blood is hemoconcentrated. So there will be hemoconcentration. If it's decreased, the blood is basically hemodiluted. So there will be hemodilution. Okay? So nurses, it's very, very easy to understand. Kailangan yung maintindihan to kasi ang paglipat ng tubig nangyayari depende kung nasaan ang concentrated na area. Part. Na nagigets po nurses, na naiintindihan po si Mang Jem, bakit po mahalagang maintindihan yung iba't ibang kahulugan, ibang terminologies na may kinalaman sa concentration? Kasi nurses, ang paglipat ng tubig ay naka-base or nakadepende or ang pamantayan ng fluid shifting natin ay kung nasaan ang concentrated area. Kaya mahalagang maintindihan mo ang mga terminologies nito. So pag sinabi ko na hyperosmolarity, kapag sinabi kong there will be a hyperosmolarity of the blood, ang tubig natin lilipat papunta doon sa dugo to balance the concentration. 'Di ba ang konsepto natin in biochemistry nung kayo ay mga nasa mga first year or second year college or even nung kayo ay mga student mga high school, 'di ba, in your senior high, okay? Kapag inaaral natin yung dalawang compartment, usually ang sample natin diyan would be yung dalawa nating baso or dalawang glass, 'di ba? Kung nasaan yung fluid, yung concentrated, doon lumilipat yung tubig. Ganoon din sa katawan natin. Ilagay nyo lang yung naintindihan nyo sa chemistry, sa konsepto ng nursing. Ngayon, hindi natin gagamitin yung baso. Ang gagamitin mong compartment, hindi baso. Ang gagamitin mong compartment is the intracellular and extracellular. Kung nasa intracellular, ang concentrated na area, ang lipat ng tubig ay papunta sa intracellular, from extra to intra. Kapag naman ang concentrated area ay nakita ko or nasa extra, ang movement ng fluid ay pupunta mula sa intra papunta sa extracellular. At ang ibig sabihin ng mga yon is your what? The principle of osmosis. The osmosis is the movement of fluid or solvent from the lower concentrated area or from the less concentrated area. It's the movement of low concentrated area to high concentrated area. Meaning to say, hahanapin mo yung concentrated. Kung naandun ang concentrated, naandun ang movement ng fluids. Yan ang principle ng osmosis. This is to balance, 'di ba in chemistry, ang rasyonale kung bakit nangyayari ang osmosis, it's really to balance the concentration. Okay, yan ang konsepto na yun. So, kailangan niyo talagang maintindihan yung mga terminologies na yon. So, 'wag kayong malilito ha, lahat ng ito may kinalaman lang yan sa isang salita. It talks about kung gaano ka-concentrated ang isang solusyon, kung gaano ka-concentrated ang isang compartment, kung gaano ka-concentrated ang isang fluid, right? So, yan lang ang ibig sabihin ng mga terminologies na yan at mangyayari ang paglipat ng tubig kung nasaan yung concentrated na area, doon nagbo-move ang fluid. So kung nasa intravascular or nasa intracellular, pupunta sa kanya ang fluid kasi siyang concentrated. Kung nasa extracellular, sa kanya naman pupunta ang fluid. So yun po ang principle ng osmosis. Huwag na kayo magsaulo, basta tandaan nyo lang in osmosis, lumilipat ang tubig kung saan concentrated ang area. Yun lang ang ibig sabihin niya. Kung saan concentrated ang compartment. Okay, malinaw tayo dyan, nurses. Hopefully, I was able to enlighten you pa. Okay, so we have 47 pa, okay? May mga 47 pa tayong tapusin niyo 'to, 1 hour lang 'to, nurses. Mabilis na mabilis lang po ito, ha? It's 1 hour lang, okay? Sige po. Another important key players na dapat nating maintindihan, okay, sa konsepto ng fluids, yung mga hormones. Yan. So this is very, very important, okay? So aaralin niyo pa naman ito sa endocrine disorders, but napaka-importante na dapat master natin itong mga hormones na ito, right? Okay. So we have your aldol. Ito yung mga key players natin, ha? Ito yung mga key players. Okay? Yung mga hormones na to, it involves, okay? This hormone involves in the regulation or in regulating fluids, okay, in the body. Okay, fluids in the body. Napaka-importante niyan, okay? Akala natin 'di ba, akala natin si kidney lang yung kasi 'di ba 'pag inaaral natin yung ating genitourinary disorders, 'di ba? Laging sinasabi ni Miss Jem sa inyo, your kidney is the major controlling output. Lahat ng sobra, tinatapon, lahat ng kulang, kinikip inside the body to maintain homeostasis or balance. 'Di ba ganun si Ma'am Jem mag-discuss? Every time na mag-i-introduce ako ng disorder, lagi kong sinasabi in nephrology nursing or in renal system, your kidney is the major controlling output. Lahat ng sobra itatapon through urine production, lahat ng kulang ikikip inside the body to maintain balance. Now, alam niyo po ba na hindi naman magagawa ng kidney to excrete and to keep the fluid inside the body without the following hormones. Kahit yung kidney mo matino, kung itong mga hormones na ito, meron kang problema dito, nurses, hindi yun magagawa ng kidney. Right? Try to imagine. Bakit ako ihi ng ihi kapag meron akong diabetes insipidus? Di ba sabi mo, Miss Jem, si kidney ang nagkikip ng fluid inside the body? That's correct. Totoo yan. Pero kailangan ng ating kidney ng antidiuretic hormone para magawa niya ang trabaho niya. So we need to tango para magawa yon. We need antidiuretic hormone that will act into your kidney. Siya ang magsasabi kay kidney mo, you have to keep the fluid inside your body kasi dehydrated ka na. Ganon ang action ng hormones natin. It's really also a compensatory mechanism of our body. Okay, yung mga hormones na ito. So, kailangan yung maintindihan ito. Sino ba yung nagtatapon ng tubig? Sino ba yung mga hormones na nagkikip ng fluid inside the body? Sino yung mga hormones na nagtatapon ng fluid inside the body? So, I have 4 hormones here. Listen carefully. So, I have your aldosterone. Okay, your aldosterone is a hormone produced by the adrenal cortex, by the adrenal gland. To be specific, in the outer part of the adrenal gland, the aldosterone is the hormone produced by the adrenal cortex. The function of this hormone is basically to retain sodium and water. So it reabsorb for sodium and water retention or reabsorption, right? Meaning to say, ibinabalik ko yung sodium and water sa loob ng katawan. Yan ang trabaho ng aldosterone to maintain the normal blood volume. Specifically, pag tayo ay nade-dehydrate, pag tayo ay nagbi-bleed, kapag tayo ay decrease ang cardiac output, ginagawa yan ng aldosterone. Right? Okay, now, your aldosterone is also pro-sodium anti-potassium, meaning to say, it keeps the sodium inside your body and it excrete the potassium, okay, outside your body. Okay? Binabalik niya ang asin sa loob ng katawan, tinatapon niya ngayon yung potassium. So, ang aldosterone nagkakos ng hypernatremia at nagkakos ng hypokalemia. Okay, another key player pagdating sa fluids is your antidiuretic hormone. Okay, nurses, sige nga, sino ang nagpo-produce ng antidiuretic hormone for ADH? Tinatawag din natin itong vasopressin. Okay? Sino po yung nagpo-produce ng antidiuretic hormone or ng ating ADH or ng vasopressin? Anyone, nurses? Ayan, 49 na kayo dyan. Imposible namang hindi nyo alam kung sino ang nagpo-produce ng mga hormones ng antidiuretic hormone na yan. Sino, nurses? Anong bahagi ng endocrine system natin? Ano nagpo-produce nga, nurses? Okay, Jamil, it's PPG. Okay? How about yung iba, nurses? Okay. Nurses even Miss Jam, all throughout ng pag-aaral ko sa nursing, akala ko si posterior pituitary gland ang nagpo-produce niyan. But hindi. It's the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus, nurses, let me correct you. Hypothalamus produce antidiuretic hormone and not the posterior pituitary gland. The posterior pituitary gland is just a storage of antidiuretic hormone. Tandaan niyo po yan, nurses, kasi 'di ba in lecture, pag nagre-lecture tayo in MS, usually pag sinabi mong disorder of the posterior pituitary gland, ma-encounter mo na agad diyan yung ADH. Tama naman, walang problema doon. 100% correct 'yon. Okay? Kasi once na makapag-produce ang hypothalamus, dumediretso na yan sa posterior pituitary gland. Wala nang dinadaan ng blood vessels yan. Ang nerves ang daanan ng ADH. Malinaw tayo dyan. Okay, now, your ADH produced by your hypothalamus, remember this, nurses, by hypothalamus, okay? Ang storage ng ADH is the PPG. Your PPG, nalagay ko dito your posterior pituitary gland is just a storage of ADH. It's just a storage of ADH. Okay, but magkaroon ka ng problem with the PPG, it could lead to SIAD or DI. So, parehas lang. Okay, kaya nilagay nila yun sa ilalim nun kasi kapag nagkaroon ka ng problem sa PPG, okay, maaapektuhan din ang release ng ADH. Nurses, magkaiba ang release and produce. No? Kasi when I say release, it's basically pwedeng ikaw yung nagpo-produce, then ikaw din ang nagre-release. But in sa konsepto na ito, nurses, ang PPG ay nagre-release at nag-store ng ADH. Pero ang nagpo-produce niyan is it's the hypothalamus. Tandaan niyo yan, nurses, your hypothalamus produce ADH and your PPG is just a storage. Okay? Malinaw tayo dyan. Okay? Another. So ito, bihira itong ma-encounter sa nursing school. Okay? Hindi naman lahat, but even, Ma'am Jam, bihira ko itong ma-encounter. Okay? Through readings, okay? Ng mga madaming articles and books. Now, naiintindihan ko ito, no? Okay? Marami tayong dapat matutunan. Even I am a lecturer, I still have to read more and more books just to learn a lot, no? Hindi po pwedeng paulit-ulit lang ang tinuturo ko. Now, your BNP, nurses, it's a cardiac hormone. Okay? It's a cardiac hormone. Yung ibig sabihin pala muna, your BNP stands for brain. It stands for brain, not, okay, not triuretic. Yes, that's not triuretic. Okay, not triuretic peptide. Or the B type or ito yung tinatawag nating B-type, natriuretic peptide. Okay. Tandaan nurses, ang BNP, ang brain natriuretic peptide, ito ay isang cardiac hormones. Okay? Cardiac hormones. Okay? Ma'am Jem, tuwing kailan po tayo nakakapag-produce ng BNP? Okay, ma'am, makinig kayong mabuti ha. Ang BNP po, okay, at ANP, hindi yan kagaya ng aldosterone. Si aldosterone at ADH, kinikip ang fluid inside the body together with the sodium. Okay, in aldosterone. The ADH, it keeps the fluid inside the body. It can cause fluid retention. Now, in your BNP, kabaligtaran ito ng aldosterone. Kabaligtaran ito ng ADH together with the ANP. Okay? Ito, it promotes the uresis. Okay? Ang function ng hormones na ito, it promotes the uresis. Nagpapaihi ito. It excrete nurses. Naglalabas ito ng potassium, ng sodium and fluid. It excrete or it eliminates sodium and fluid. Hindi siya kagaya ng aldosterone and ADH. It keeps the water inside. This is why it promotes excretion of the sodium and the fluid. Yan ang trabaho ng BNP. Now, take note of this nurses, kailan po yan tumataas? Kapag nagkakaroon tayo ng ventricular stretch. Kapag na-stretch po ang ventricle natin, no? Nag-i-increase ang BNP. Kapag nagkakaroon tayo ng stretching of the ventricles. Pag nahahatak ang ventricles natin, ano bang kondisyon nahahatak ang ventricles natin kapag congested tayo? Ano po yun, Ma'am Jem? Sa mga pasyenteng merong congestive heart failure. Try to analyze this, nurses. Kapag meron akong congestive heart failure, right? Pag meron akong CHF, from the word itself, congestive, puno ako ng tubig. Marami akong fluid retention. Okay? For some reasons, maybe due to inefficient contractility of the heart, there will be decrease in ejection fraction, there will be backflow of the blood into the systemic circulation, leading to systemic congestion. There will also be backflow of blood into the pulmonary system, leading to pulmonary congestion or pulmonary edema. Sa Tagalog, mamasa-masa ang baga ng pasyente. Right? So, pasyente is basically puno ng tubig. So, na-stretch ang puso natin. Nag-o-overwork. So, ang BNP, tumataas yan kapag stress ang heart natin. To be specific, anong disorder? Congestive heart failure. Pag magtitake kayo ng NCLEX, isa ito sa mga marker nila. Okay, pag magtitake kayo ng NCLEX, very important ang normal value ng BNP. Ang normal BNP natin, nurses, is less than 100 picograms per ml. Less than 100 picograms per ml. So pag tumataas yan, ibig sabihin, Ma'am Jem, si patient merong hypervolemia, si patient merong congestion. So ang ginagawa ng ating heart, no, nagkakaroon ng stretching of the ventricle, nagre-release siya ng BNP para tulungan ang katawan natin na bawasan yung tubig. That's why your BNP, it promotes the uresis. Right? So hindi siya kagaya. So parang ganito lang. Kung meron akong hypovolemia in a normal process ng katawan natin, kung ako ay merong hypovolemia, dehydration, decreased cardiac output, okay, hindi ako iihi. Kasi tataas ang aldosterone and ADH. Yan ang compensation ng katawan mo. Kasi kapag umihi ako and limited na lang ang fluid sa katawan ko, mamamatay ako sa hypovolemic shock. Yan ang aldosterone and ADH. It promotes water and sodium inside the body to keep the balance. Now, in BNP and ANP, kapag ako naman ay hypervolemic, the patient is having fluid volume excess, overhydrated ako, masasense yan. Okay? Ng ating heart. Tama? Pag nagkaroon ng ventricular stretching and atrial stretching, there will be release of BNP, there will be release of ANP. Tutulungan niya ang katawan natin to promote the uresis because you are what? You are what? Overhydrated. Kasi meron kang fluid overload. So, ganyan ang normal na proseso. Ganyan ang normal na nangyayari sa katawan natin. Kaya hindi tayo basta-basta namamatay. Right? Okay, malinaw na ako dyan ha. Napunta tayo sa A&P. Okay, wait. Baka mamaya itanong sa board exam, Ma'am Jem, which of the following system, which of the following organ produce, okay, majority of the BNP produced by, wag niyong isasagot brain. Kaya lang Ma'am Jem, nalilito ako, bakit brain yung nakalagay sa BNP? Bakit hindi heart na triuretic? Since the main source of this hormone galing sa puso. Historically speaking, nurses, ang BNP ay unang na-discover sa ating brain. But minimal amount lang ang makikita mo dyan. But majority of BNP ay makikita natin sa ating heart. Malinaw tayo? Kaya nang siya tinawag na brain kasi nga dahil ang BNP ay, ang hormone na ito ay unang na-discover sa ating brain. But very, very minimal amount. But majority of the BNP ay makukuha or makikita natin or pinuproduce ng ating heart, ng ating ventricles, ng ating ng ating left ventricles. Okay? Malinaw tayo dyan. How about your ANP? So from the word itself, ANP, atrial. Atrial, not triuretic. This is your atrial, not triuretic hormone. Nurses, nasusundan nyo ba ako? Nasusundan po ako, nurses? Nasusundan si Ma'am Jem? Okay, nasusundan po. Malinaw tayo, nurses. Okay. Sige, thank you. Yan. Okay, thank you. Okay. Pumunta na tayo kay ANP ha. Okay, so your atrial not triuretic hormone, this is basically produced by your left, not left, but it's produced by your atrium. It's produced by your atrium. Okay? This is to what? Okay? Increase ANP. This is due to what? Due to what? Stretching of the atrium naman. Okay? Parehas lang sila ng ginagawa. Okay? Both BNP and ANP, okay, promote diuresis. It excretes sodium and fluids. Okay? It's stretching of the atrium. Stretching of the atrium. So it also promote diuresis. It promote diuresis. So it promotes sodium and fluid, no? It promotes diuresis. It excretes sodium and fluid. Right? So kung mapapansin yung nurses, very contrasting yung effect nila. Tingnan mo mabuti ha. Try to analyze. Si aldosterone and si ADH, normally tumataas yan kapag ako dehydrated, kapag ako merong hypovolemia, kapag ako merong fluid volume deficit, kapag ako ay kulang sa tubig, tumataas yan. Bakit kailangan niyang tumaas? Kasi kapag inihi ko pa, yung natitirang konting tubig sa katawan ko, mamamatay ako sa hypovolemic shock. Diba? These hormones are also responsible in compensatory mechanism. Right. Okay. On the other hand, your BNP, ANP naman, tumataas yan kapag ako merong hypervolemia. Kapag ako ay merong fluid volume excess. Kasi kinakailangan ilabas yung tubig. Kasi kung hindi, magko-congest ako. Right? So, very contrasting yung effect nila. Okay? So, nauunawaan po, nurses, atrial fibrillation. Yes, lahat ng meron tayong problem with the atrium, it could lead to increased ANP or the atrial not triuretic hormone. So, tumataas ang ANP natin pag ang problema atrium, tumataas ang BNP natin kapag ang problem is ventricle. To make it specific, to make it simple, BNP kapag ventricle ang tumaas and atrium, ang problem kapag ANP ang tumaas. Ang nagkaroon na, yes, kapag ANP ang tumaas. Okay, so malinaw tayo sa nurses ha, malinaw tayo. Tingin ko matatapos ka naman siya in 1 hour. O konti na lang. Okay, so hopefully naintindihan niyo po iyang mga hormones na yan ha. Okay, gamitin niyo yan, okay? Kahit sa pagtitik niyo ng NCLEX. Okay, punta na tayo sa different disorders. Okay, punta tayo sa different disorders. Makinig ng mabuti ha, kay Miss Jem. Okay, sige po. Now, in your renal failure nurses, actually very, very easy naman ng mga disorders na to. Kilala na natin yan, okay? Tingnan nyo lang mabuti yung isusulat ni Ma'am Jem, okay? Tingin lang kayo sa presentation. Now, in your renal failure, so renal failure is it can be acute, it can be chronic. Okay, it can be acute, it can be chronic. It's really a problem, no? It's really a problem in the kidney. Okay, it's really a problem in your kidney. So pag nag-fail ang kidney natin, okay, definitely nurses, your kidney is the major controlling output. It removes excess waste product from your body. The main function is basically filtration. It's like a strainer. Sinasala niya lahat ng hindi kailangan ng katawan natin. So it's really a filtration. Now, your renal failure, bumabagsak ang ating GFR. Pag nasisira si kidney, nagkakaroon tayo ng decrease in the glomerular filtration rate. Sa Tagalog, yung kakayahan ng kidney na salain yung dugo natin ay bumababa or nababawasan. Di ba, nurses, kapag nagsasala tayo ng dugo, nagiging ihi siya. Yun, di ba? So kapag decrease ang glomerular filtration, hindi nasasala ng maayos ang dugo, konti lang ang magiging ihi natin dyan. So there will be decrease in the urine formation. There will be decrease in the urine formation or urine production. And definitely, this could lead to what? This could lead to water retention. Tama? This could lead to water retention, and fluid retention could lead to edema. Eventually, it could lead to edema. So maraming ibig sabihin ng edema. It can be anasarca, it can be generalized body edema, it can be pulmonary edema, it can be edema inside the peritoneal cavity, or otherwise known as the ascites, or the accumulation of fluid in the peritoneal cavity. It's peripheral edema, so it's facial edema. So kahit anong edema pwedeng mangyari in renal failure, but common is peripheral, pulmonary, and ascites. Another disorder would be your nephrotic syndrome and your glomerulonephritis. Okay, I'm not going to compare nephrotic syndrome and GN. Punta na lang tayo sa similarities nitong dalawa na to. Your nephrotic syndrome and GN is basically a damage in the glomerulus. Tama? The filtering area of our kidney, or the filtering part of our kidney, is your glomerulus. So in nephrotic syndrome and GN, there will be damage, inflammation, whatever, basta merong damage in glomerulus. There will be damage in glomerulus. Alam nating lahat yan, nurses. Glomerulus is a semi-permeable membrane. Pag sinabing semi-permeable membrane, meaning to say, ang nilalabas lang ng glomerulus yung mga small particles. Hindi po pwedeng lumabas yung mga large particles kagaya ng albumin. Now, hinig na mabuti, kapag nasisira ang glomerulus, diba, normally, ang glomerulus is semi-permeable. Meaning to say, ang nagpapastro lang sa kanya, ang lumalabas sa kanya, mga small particles. Ano po yun? Siyempre yung mga waste product lang. Waste product, what else? Mga drug metabolites, mga excess electrolytes, mga uric acid. Those are small particles. Hindi pwedeng lumabas dyan ang mga large particles. So in nephrotic and GN, iyon ang nangyayari. There will be damage in glomerulus, leading to what? Nagiging highly permeable siya. Sa Tagalog, lumalaki na yung butas na dapat maliit lang. Lumalaki yung butas ng strainer. Kasi glomerulus is like a strainer. So pag lumaki yung butas ng strainer, lalabas yung protein, which is a large molecule. So there will be what? There will be proteinuria. There will be leakage or leaking of albumin. Tama? There will be proteinuria. So there will be decreased albumin level in the blood. Kasi sumama na sa ihi lahat dahil lumaki ang butas ng glomerulus. Now, nurses, what is albumin? Alam na natin yan. Your albumin is what? Your albumin is a protein. Majority of the albumin is being produced by the liver, right? Ang karamihan po ng albumin ay pinoproduce ng liver, and some of the albumin ay pwedeng makuha sa mga protein sources natin na kinakain natin. So once again, the albumin is being produced by your liver. Tama? Okay, so dapat hindi ito ine-excrete ng katawan natin. Ang function ng albumin natin, the function of our albumin, nurses, it maintains oncotic pressure. Right? It maintains oncotic pressure. Now, when I say oncotic pressure, nurses, it's the pulling effect of fluid. It's the pulling effect of fluid. This is the pulling effect of fluid inside your blood vessel. Tatagalugin ko, ang albumin parang magnet. It's like a magnet. It holds the fluid. It keeps the fluid inside the blood vessel para hindi lumabas. Kasi pag bumagsak ang albumin mo, lalabas ang tubig sa blood vessel, pupunta sa interstitial. So in nephrotic syndrome and GM, there will be a fluid shifting. The fluid will move because of decreased albumin. There will be decreased oncotic pressure. Decrease oncotic pressure, right? There will be decreased oncotic pressure. Lalabas ang fluid. Saan pupunta? From the intravascular to interstitial or between the cell, causing what? Again, this could lead to edema. Right? Okay, punta tayo dun sa pangatlo. Delete ko lang to ha. Delete ko lang to nurses. Itong number. Itong albumin na. Delete ko na yung albumin, okay? Alam na natin yung albumin na. Tandaan nyo lang yung magnet. Every time na maiintindihan nyo yung albumin, it's like a magnet. Hinahatak na yung tubig papasok ng blood vessel para hindi lumabas. Kasi pag lumabas to, mapupunta to sa interstitial. At pag napunta yan sa interstitial, magkakaroon tayo ng edema. Tama? Okay. Then another is your liver cirrhosis. Or liver cirrhosis. Okay, in your liver cirrhosis is like your chronic kidney failure. There will be a damage, no? There will be a progressive loss of the hepatocytes or liver cells. And usually, if you're going to define liver cirrhosis, no, it's a scarring, a fibrosis or necrosis, okay, a multinodular formation in the liver. So basically, it's the scarring of the liver. So tatagalogin ko na lang ito. Pag sinabing scarring, nagkakaroon na po ng peklat yung liver ng isang pasyente. Your liver cirrhosis, wala po tayong cure dyan, ha? Unless the patient will undergo transplant or liver transplant. But your liver cirrhosis is a chronic progressive disorder of the liver. Now, the scarring of the liver. Now, what is the function of the liver? There's a lot of functions. Now, your liver produce albumin. Right? Isa yun sa mga function niya. Now, in liver cirrhosis, there will be decreased albumin production. So, there will be what? There will be fluid shifting again. Fluid shifting again kasi magdi-decrease ang oncotic pressure, right? Magdi-decrease ang oncotic pressure. So, there will be a fluid shifting again from intravascular to interstitial compartment leading to edema, right? Okay, majority of the protein or albumin is being produced by the liver. Okay? Your albumin, majority ay pinoproduce po ng ating liver and some of the albumin po ay nakukuha natin sa ating mga protein intake, specifically yung mga high-friendly protein. Kailangan yung matutunan nyo, no? May mga protein tayo na pwedeng ibigay kahit ang pasyente merong mga condition na tumataas ang ammonia level, like your liver cirrhosis. So meron tayong mga friendly protein na tinatawag, protein with high biologic value. Yung mga friendly protein, example, chicken, fish, nuts, legumes, those are friendly protein. Hindi lahat ng protein bawal sa pasyente merong renal failure and liver cirrhosis, ha? Okay. Sige, so tingnan nyo mabuti, ha? So there will be edema in renal failure. There will be edema in nephrotic syndrome and GN. There will be edema in liver cirrhosis. Okay, punta na tayo sa susunod. Malapit na tayong matapos. Sabi ko niyo, 1 hour lang to eh. So in SIAD nurses, another disorder, in SIAD nurses, there will be increase in the antidiuretic hormone. So kagaya ng sinabi ko, your antidiuretic hormone normally dapat tumataas yan kapag ikaw ay dehydrated. Kapag ang isang pasyente ay merong decreased blood volume or hypovolemia, yun ang normal. Hindi yan dapat tumataas kapag normal ang katawan natin ng fluid. Kung ano normal naman ang blood volume mo, hindi pwedeng tumaas ang ADH. Tumataas lang yan kapag tayo po ay nakukulangan ng fluid sa mga event na ito. Dehydration, hypovolemia, right? Okay, or fluid volume deficit. Now, pag tumaas ang ADH, so there will be water retention. Okay? Kanina mabuti, ha? Your antidiuretic hormone o vasopressin, water retention only lang tayo dito, ha? Walang sodium. Kay aldosterone yun. So there will be water retention. Right? There will be water retention. So if there will be water retention, nurses, okay? So there will be decreased urine formation muna because this is antidiuretic hormone. There will be decreased urine formation. So hindi tayo umiihi. Itong hormones na to, hindi to pampaihi. It keeps the fluid inside the body to maintain balance. Decreased urine formation. So It keeps the fluid inside your body, so there will be water retention. Right? So tataas na naman ang blood volume, the patient will develop again edema. Right. O punta tayo kay Cushing's disease. In your Cushing's disease, there will be increase in aldosterone. Hindi ko na to ulitin kasi itong mga key players na to, natakal na natin doon from the previous slides, ha? Aldosterone, anong ginagawa ng aldosterone, nurses? Your aldosterone, it what? It keeps the sodium and water inside your body. Okay, so ano sila, tandem sila ng ADH. Kapag dehydrated tayo, tumataas yan. Bahagi ng ating compensatory mechanism. So there will be increased sodium and water reabsorption. Okay? Sodium and water absorption. So there will be what? There will be what? What? Fluid overload na naman. There will be fluid overload. Right? So there will be edema. There will be edema na naman, nurses. It can be pulmonary edema. It can be ascites, the accumulation of fluid inside your peritoneal cavity, or it can be your peripheral edema, right? Okay, now, lastly, nurses, your congestive heart failure. So if you're going to define congestive heart failure, it's the inefficient contractility of the heart, or it's inefficient contraction, or contractility of the heart. Okay. So, inefficient contractility of the heart. So, ngayon, kapag hindi maayos ang contraction, there will be decrease in the ejection fraction, there will be decrease in the cardiac output, there will be backflow of blood, right? Yan yung alam natin. Dahil mahina ang puso natin, there will be backflow. There will be backward flow of blood. So, bumabalik ang dugo kasi mahina ang puso. So, the backflow of the blood, pwedeng tumamayan or pwedeng backflow of blood into the systemic circulation kapag iyan ay right-sided, leading to systemic congestion. Right? On the other hand, kapag naman nag-backflow ang dugo into the pulmonary system, that could lead to pulmonary congestion or mapupuno ng tubig yung baka ng pasyente, or it could lead to pulmonary edema. Right? Okay. Now, another mechanism kung bakit tinawag na congestive heart failure, ang congestive heart failure ay hindi lang dahil sa mechanism na ito. Okay. Sabi ni Ma'am Jem, kapag inefficient ang contractility of ng puso natin, there will be decreased cardiac output. So, laging kulang ang nilalabas. When I say cardiac output sa Tagalog, okay, or to make it simple, ito po yung nilalabas na dugo sa ventricle or sa puso, papunta sa ating organ sa loob ng 1 minuto. Yun lang ang ibig sabihin yan. Yun ang ibig sabihin ng cardiac output. Yung dugo na nilalabas sa puso sa loob ng 1 minuto. Okay. Now, kapag decrease ang cardiac output, there will be activation of RAAS. So there will be release of aldosterone. Hindi ko na-explain to, nurses kasi hindi tayo matatapos. There will be release of aldosterone na naman, nurses. So there will be increased sodium and water retention na naman. So there will be increase in blood volume na naman. There will be congestion na naman. There will be fluid retention na naman. So kung mapapansin kaya doble-doble yung pagpuno ng tubig ng mga pasyente merong heart failure, hindi lang dahil sa backward flow of the blood, kung hindi dahil mababa ang cardiac output, decrease ang renal perfusion, so there will be a RAAS activation. And consistently palaging ganyan ang nangyayari. Ang nangyayari sa pasyente merong heart failure, palaging mataas ang BP nila. Kaya nga alam nyo po, kapag ang isang pasyenteng may heart failure, hindi naman digoxin ang first line drug of choice eh. Hindi naman talaga digoxin. It's the ACE inhibitor. It's the angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor, ang first line drug of choice sa heart failure. So yan yung ginagamit talaga natin. Bakit, Ma'am Jem? Kasi pag meron kang heart failure, laging pangit ang contraction. Pag laging pangit ang contraction, laging pangit ang cardiac output. Pag laging pangit ang cardiac output, laging pangit ang perfusion sa kidney. There will always activation of RAAS. So there will be release of aldosterone. There will always release of aldosterone. So there will be sodium and water retention. So there will be fluid retention. So the patient may experience edema, experience anasarca, may experience ascites. So there will be edema again. Ngayon, nurses, kung babalikan natin yung topic ni Ma'am Jem from the very beginning, understanding common fluid-related disorders, it's really a matter of concept. From the fluid compartment, naunawaan natin kung saan natin matatagpuan yung mga fluid sa loob ng katawan natin and naintindihan natin ang mga terminologies na may kinalaman sa isang salita, which is the concentration, and naintindihan natin ang mga key players ng mga hormones na ito na involved in the regulation of fluid inside of our body. And now, maiintindihan mo ngayon ang disorders. Tama. Kung mapapansin nyo, nurses, if you're going to notice itong discussion ni Ma'am Jem na ito, okay? Sa lahat ng nabanggit kong disorder, from renal failure, nephrotic syndrome, liver cirrhosis, SIAD, Cushing's disease, and congestive heart failure, there is only one common denominator. Isa lang ang common denominator ng mga sakit na to. Under the fluids concept in the medical, surgical, nursing, it will fall under the problem in fluid volume excess. So now, nurses, if you are going to manage itong mga disorder na ito, hindi ka na mahihirapan kasi alam mo na yung concept. Lahat na ito ay tatama or magpa-fall under fluid volume excess. So now, paano mo siya i-manage? It's really about fluid what? Restriction. Fluid restriction. So gaano ba dapat kadami yung iniinom na tubig ng isang pasyente kapag merong fluid volume excess? In the event of renal failure, nephrotic syndrome, GN, liver cirrhosis, SIAD, Cushing's, lahat sila may fluid volume excess. Lahat sila pare-parehas ng management when it comes to the fluid restriction. So in the concept of fluid volume excess, some of the books will tell it's 1.5 to 2 liters, but majority of the books will tell the maximum would be 1.5 liters per day lang ang dapat iniinom ng isang pasyente na merong problem sa fluid volume excess. When I say fluid restriction, hindi po ibig sabihin yan you have to avoid. When I say restriction, it means you have to limit. Lilimitahan lang natin yung tubig ng pasyente, right? Ano pa, ma'am? Of course, the best indicator of the fluid status of the patient is the weight of the client and definitely your intake and output. Sa MS, paano maintindihan nyo siya? Hindi enough. Yung typical na binabasa mo lang yung cause, definition, sign and symptoms, diagnostic procedure, your management in studying MS, pinaka-importante, nurses, kailangan alam mo yung mukha ng disorder, alam mo yung common denominator ng mga disorders, saan sila nagkakapareho. And ngayon, pag nalaman mo yung common denominator, just like kung paano ko pinresent ito, doon mo maiintindihan or doon mo naman aralin ano yung unique. Kasi napakadali. So ngayon, kapag ito nilabas sa board exam, automatic maaalala mo, pasok ito sa fluid concept ni Ma'am Jem. Itong mga disorders na ito, may kinalaman ito sa fluid volume excess. So basically, very crucial and very vital ang management natin when it comes to the fluid sa mga disorders na ito. So once again, nurses, hopefully you learned something from Ma'am Jem. And natuto nga ba? Natuto ba kayo? Ayan, natuto ba, nurses? Actually, kulang, no? Kulang yung time, but I will promise you, nurses, magbibigay pa ako ng maraming live lectures sa mga susunod na araw siguro, no? Okay, thank you so much, Miss Melissa. So yan, nami-miss ko na rin yung mga students ko. Okay, yung mga dati kong students, yung mga nang-handle ko. Okay, yan. Okay, so hopefully na natuto ha. Salamat, JD ha. Okay, maraming salamat. Magkikita tayo dyan, JD. Okay, sana magkita-kita tayo. Okay, thank you po, ma'am. More po. Yes. Okay, mas marami pa tayong i-lecture. Okay? Yan. Thank you, Jamil. Okay. Thank you so much. So, tandaan niyo yan palagi, nurses, sa MS, hindi sapat. Nabasa ka ng basa. It's really a matter of concept. In order for you to pass the board exam, 90% is the concept mastery. 10% is the memorization, your test-taking strategy. Remember this, hindi mo magagamit ang test-taking strategy in the board exam kung hindi mo mamamaster ang concept. Paano mo mamamaster? Magbasa tayo ng magbasa. And siguro yun lang. Ma'am Rachel, Sir Mark, thank you very much.